Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. November 23rd, the final week of November in 2020. Good to be with you. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. We are on a Monday, fresh off news of a third vaccine that's coming to market soon. While its effectiveness not nearly as high as the first two options, the approachability, the price point, and the transportation methods are much more appealing. We'll talk about that on the program. AstraZeneca, it's news today that a third vaccine with an efficacy of 70% coming soon to the market. A lot we're going to cover, including what could be the most important week for the United States since the pandemic. Now, you'll sit there, you'll scratch your head and say, what? How is this, Jerry? How is this the most important week for America since we've been hit with this nastiness, this corona, this pandemic that's just been gross and frustrating and demoralizing? Well, think about it. We have a major holiday this week. We have people traveling for this major holiday this week. We have the winter cold this week. We have cases spiking across America currently. And from an economy standpoint, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday, all basically this week. So you can make a legitimate argument that this week, the most impactful and important week for the United States since the pandemic. I'm going to get into that topic on today's program. We have medical cannabis news and Nelson County. Folks, Nelson County very much in the game for a medical marijuana facility. We'll talk about that on the program today. I've said on the show, I will emphasize it again. You will see in your news cycle cannabis much more frequently than you're accustomed to. And that's because of the incremental revenue that comes with this product, this plant, on the heels of a pandemic and municipalities struggling to meet their budget and their deficits with their budget. We'll talk about Nelson County and where it will go. I'll see if I can get Jesse Rutherford, Nelson County Board of Supervisors, on this program later this week. Unfortunate news, John Paul Jones, the man whose name is on the basketball arena where the University men's basketball, women's basketball team play, he has passed away. John Paul Jones died at 100 years old this past weekend. We'll give you some highlights of a life, 100 years of living on this planet for a man that did it the right way. John Paul Jones has passed away at 100 years old. Guitar Center is now the latest national retailer to file for bankruptcy. Guitar Center, now bankrupt. It's got a location in Richmond. Guitar Center trying to survive bankruptcy on its horizon. We'll talk about this bankruptcy, highlight some of the others, and where brick and mortar is going to go from here from a national standpoint. IMDB has released its 100 best movies of all time. The movies have been based on IMDB rankings and Metascores. We'll give you a glimpse into the top 10, and we have basketball to talk about today with Mamadi Diakite signing a two-way contract with the Milwaukee Bucks, with the UVA men's basketball matchup against Florida on Friday in Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun. Now no more. You heard me correctly. Florida, its men's basketball team, the Gators, announced they're going to pause basketball for a week with COVID hitting that team. That means Tony Bennett's second game of the season in Connecticut at a preseason tournament at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut has already been postponed, and the likelihood of making up the matchup against the Florida Gators slim to none in a tightened, abbreviated, very COVID-restricted college basketball season. Football, the Wahoos get a big-time victory. UVA has Florida State on the docket on Saturday. The Wahoos, if they beat the Seminoles, and Las Vegas has UVA football as a 10-point favorite on a Monday against Florida State on Saturday in Tallahassee. If UVA beats the Seminoles, they're 5-4 in the season. They have 2 games left after Florida State, Boston College, and Virginia Tech. UVA could win out the rest of the year, I've been saying on this show, finish 7-4, and Bronco Mendenhall could have one of the best years considering the talent he lost. He lost a generational quarterback in Perkins. Considering the talent he lost, he could have one of his best years in Charlottesville, Virginia. A lot we're going to cover on the program. Give the show a like and a share. We'll give Interstate Pest and Service Company some love. Judah Wickower, 4 generations of family behind that company. Interstate Pest and Service Companies. Truly a home's best friend. Interstate Pest and Service Companies. Our first headline, without question, has got to be one that continues the momentum of consumer confidence thanks to vaccines. Wall Street is rallying. We see green across all the major indices on the television in front of us. Folks, the AstraZeneca Covid vaccine, while its efficacy of 70%, its effectiveness is not that of its biotech or Pfizer colleagues. Think about it from a different way. You have another vaccine to create consumer confidence, another vaccine to scale and to get into Americans and people across the globe, another vaccine to tame this pandemic. On top of that, you can transport this vaccine not at the frigid temperatures needed to transport the Pfizer vaccine. Remember, the Pfizer vaccine, that was the challenge with it. It was difficult to transport because it had to be kept at such cold temperatures. This vaccine that was released today, the news released today, the AstraZeneca vaccine, is the lowest priced of all of them. Approximately $3 to $4 for this one. So while its efficacy and its effectiveness not that of its colleagues, its peers, the price is lower and it's easier to transport. Regardless, Fauci said if we could get vaccines with an efficacy of 50%, we would be okay. So one that is 70 on the heels of 2 that are 90% plus is good news for America. And it's good news for science. Science has really stepped up during this pandemic. And for us to have 3 vaccine options, 3 vaccination options, this in the same calendar year, within 9-10 months of the pandemic, obliterating America, that's called innovation. Stepping up in pivoting, the word of 2020. Now, our next headline, I teased this already. Could this be the most important week for the United States since the attack of this pandemic? I want you to think about it. Look at everything that's happening right now. We have an election that we're trying to put behind us. That's going on right now. We have COVID cases spiking across America. That's going on right now. We have the cold winter months and all the legitimate and illegitimate fear that is associated with winter during a pandemic. Some of it is legitimate and authentic. A lot of it's been hyperbolized by the mainstream media. That's going on right now. We have people traveling for a national holiday. The start of the holiday season, Thanksgiving, traveling all over. That's going on right now. We have large groups of people getting together that often don't see each other during the year for a holiday meal, maybe a holiday breakfast, a few meals in a row. That's going on right now. And Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday all coincide with all those elements. You can make a very legitimate argument and a strong case study that this week, since the pandemic, is the most important for America in how we manage, handle, and get on the other side of this week called Thanksgiving. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday, cases surging, winter is coming, election behind us, people traveling, large groups of people in one room eating turkey. I'm going to cut to the chase. Okay? I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm a cautious optimist, but this is how I see it playing out. And I hate to say this. Cases will surge into December, much like we saw at the 4th of July and much like we saw over some of those summer holidays. Cases will uptick thanks to Thanksgiving and people getting together because of this holiday. We'll head into December with more uncertainty and more cases upticking over Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's. And then we head into the 2021 first quarter and second quarter. And finally, with the rollout of the vaccine, we will eventually get this under control. But next week, we will see surging cases even more. I'm not being negative, I'm being realistic. You see people traveling. Our next headline is one that I've been talking a lot on this program, and this one is strictly medical marijuana, but you see Nelson County's Board of Supervisors welcoming, pitching, romanticizing, courting, dating, seducing, luring, persuading, convincing a medical cannabis cultivator to set up shop in the Colleen Business Park of Nelson County, Virginia. Now, this is very early stage, but this is strictly medical cannabis. And this is the chance for 100 new jobs for the municipality we call Nelson, good paying jobs. And now we have the song and dance, the pomp and circumstance that is county leadership laying out the red carpet, rolling it out, and explaining to this unnamed national medical cannabis cultivator why Nelson County is the good future for its new facility and the 100 new jobs that come with it. I'm going to say it once. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to drill it into you on this platform, through this pulpit, and in this program and on this network. We have a very unique opportunity coming down the pipe. The governor is pushing two things we never thought we would see in Virginia: the legalization of casinos in Virginia and the legalization of cannabis. It's going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months. The Board of Supervisors in Nelson County are angling for the medical cannabis first, and a facility to come to its municipality with 100 new jobs. If Charlottesville, Albemarle County, our leadership don't get in front of this and put a plan of attack in place, a SWOT analysis, a strength, weakness analysis, they're doing our home a disservice. This isn't the future, this is today. And it's not being discussed. Nelson County's doing it. We'll see if we can get Jesse Rutherford on this program this week to talk about this medical marijuana opportunity that the Board of Supervisors in Nelson County are pursuing to not only drive job growth, GDP, but incremental revenue as well. That's important. The next headline on this show is a sad one, Judah. John Paul Jones, the namesake of the John Paul Jones Arena, died this past weekend. He was 100 years old. John Paul Jones is the son of the hedge fund titan, the financier, Paul Tudor Jones. Paul Tudor Jones donated $35 million in his father's name for the naming rights of the John Paul Jones Arena. Mr. John Paul Jones graduated from the University of Virginia School of Law in 1948. In 1960, Mr. John Paul Jones became a publisher of the Memphis Daily News. Mr. John Paul Jones got the ceremonial game ball 14 years ago, November 12th, 2006, with the first ever basketball game at his namesake arena. This past weekend, Mr. John Paul Jones passed away. He was 100 years old. To say he bled orange and blue is an understatement. We have this family, in part, to thank for one of the most fine arenas in America. John Paul Jones, a moment of silence for you on the I Love CVille show. Next one, Guitar Center, now bankrupt. Guitar Center, the latest national retailer to file for bankruptcy. This impacts nobody in Charlottesville. They do have a location in Richmond. Still, the brick and mortar national retailers are falling left and right. Whether it's J. Crew, whether it's Pier Run, you followed as closely as I have. And Taylor, the Lafayette Lane Bryant, Lord & Taylor. I mean, just a ton of big-time brands falling. Guitar Center, 13,000 workers, all stores, bankruptcy for this national brand. Our next one, Judah Wickower, top 100 movies of all time. What I'd like to do is I'd like to potentially... You know what? Why don't we do it now? Because I want to spend some time on the sports. IMDB is a phenomenal website. If you're not on IMDB when you have a question about movies, you're missing one of the best movie websites out there. Everyone uses IMDB. So we're basing, and it's not me that's coming up with this ranking. It's based on two criteria, Metascores and IMDB ranking. I'll give you the top 10. These are the top 10 movies of all time. They had to be made in America, and they had to be released English-speaking first language. Those were the two criteria. Made in America, and the release had to be an English-based film first. The all-time greatest IMDb and Metascored film of all time, what do you think it is? The Godfather, 1972, The Godfather, the greatest movie from a metric score standpoint of all time. Metascore 100, Stacker score 100, IMDb user rating 9.2. Number 2 is 12 Angry Men, 1957. Casablanca in 1942. Number 4 is Rear Window, 1954. City Lights, number 5, released in 1931. Pulp Fiction, checking in at 6, with a 1994 release. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, at 7, a 2003 release. Schindler's List at 8, a 1993 release. Citizen Kane checks in at 9, a 1941 release. And Vertigo rounds out the top 10, a 1958 release. Really, the top, I'm scrolling through it now, the top 20 is all older films. Pulp Fiction and Lord of the Rings, the two newest ones. It's not until you get deeper in the list do you start recognizing some of these movies if you're a millennial or younger. We'll spend a little more time on this list throughout the week. We'll get your take on your favorite movies of all time. My favorite movies of all time, in order, number 1, and I know you're going to laugh at me, but it's still, I'm a sports guy. It moves me to tears even to this day. Number 1 is Rudy. Rudy is my favorite movie of all time. Number 2 is Goodfellas. Goodfellas is my number 2 favorite movie of all time. Number 3, probably Usual Suspects. I love Usual Suspects. Number 4, Heat. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, Ashley Judd. Phenomenal cast. Heat, my 4th favorite movie. And number 5, maybe Forrest Gump. That's just like a coming-of-age saga, Forrest Gump. That's my top 5. I'm curious of your favorite movies of all time. I want to go to sports and basketball first. UVA's season, Tony Bennett's team, its season opens on Wednesday, right? Right around the corner. UVA Hoops opens Wednesday. It opens on Wednesday with Maine. Now, we're probably not going to be able to watch this game. The UVA Maine game is on some weird streaming station or streaming service called Flow Sports. Flow Sports. UVA will only play one time on Flow Sports Wednesday, the opener against Maine. Cost you money to set it up. I think it's $150 for the yearly subscription, $30 a month. I don't think a lot of people are going to watch UVA play a team like Maine that really is not a perennial power. Now, UVA in the same tournament was going to play Florida on Friday, the Gators. This is a tournament in Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun. The matchup on Florida against Florida has been postponed, likely canceled, because a couple of players on this team got hit with the COVID, with the corona. So now UVA, a team that has national championship expectations. The defending national champion is Tony Bennett's team. And Tony Bennett's men's basketball team may have as much, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I am shocked that I'm about to say this. Remember when Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter, Kyle Guy, Mamadi Diakite, and Kihei Clark captivated Wahoo Nation when they made that push to the NCAA tournament? That was a team of ridiculous talent. I mean, Guy, Jerome, and Hunter playing in the league. I'm about to let you know that Mamadi Diakite signed a 2-way contract with the Milwaukee Bucks. Top to bottom, as good a talent on that team as you will find in UVA in a long time. This year's team, while it does not have the NBA talent that Jerome, Guy, Hunter team had. I mean, Jerome, Guy, and Hunter were 3 pro players. This year's team does not have that pro talent. It has more depth, though. Look at the roster. It has more top to bottom depth. And Kihei Clark, Hauser, and Jay Huff, 3 strong players to build the team around. The matchup against the Florida Gators on Friday, already postponed, likely canceled. As fans of orange and blue basketball, we just need to cross our fingers that we can make it through the big dance in the NCAA tournament. Because the second game of the season for Tony's bunch already canceled. Wednesday, UVA opens up against Maine. We won't learn a lot about the team, but I'm very much excited to see Sam Hauser. Aren't you? The guy has yet to put on a UVA basketball uniform, and he's going into the season with preseason player of the year hype, with top 50 Naismith watch list hype. And folks, COVID is impacting college basketball already. We had a matchup that was supposed to be the marquee matchup to start the season. Baylor and Arizona State. That game was scheduled for Wednesday night, 18 Arizona State against number 2 Baylor. Baylor's head coach, Scott Drew, he tested positive for COVID. Arizona State, as a result, said, we're not playing you guys. This game's postponed. So number 18 Arizona State, number 2 Baylor, Wednesday night, Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, postponed. Guys, these are bubble preseason tournaments. These are tournaments in a bubble. The Mohegan Sun is supposed to be a COVID bubble. Do you hear what I'm saying? This is the concept the NBA used. One location, a bubble. And still teams are getting COVID and games are getting canceled. This is a bubble concept and the games are being canceled. Pray you make it through this season with so much talent. Mamadi Diakite signed a 2-way contract with the Milwaukee Bucks. Diakite, a Blue Ridge School product. He has not played much basketball. He picked up this game later on than most people. He is a guy that is going to work hard. He's athletic, he's long, and he's willing to play defense. 2-way contract with the Milwaukee Bucks. The 2-way deal similar to the type of contract Kyle Guy signed with the Sacramento Kings. 2-way means you play some in the NBA and some in the minor leagues, some in the developmental league. Diakite now makes 8 former Virginia players on an NBA roster. Malcolm Brogdon is with the Pacers. Anthony Gill recently signed with the Washington Wizards. Kyle Guy with the Kings. Joe Harris with the Nets. DeAndre Hunter with the Hawks. Ty Jerome with the Thunder. And Mike Scott with the Sixers. 8 Wahoos in the NBA. That's freaking legit. That is legit. Couple more items out of the notebook. As predicted, UVA crushed visiting Abilene Christian 55-15. The game was so lopsided, Las Vegas refused to issue a betting line. 11 different players caught passes for the University of Virginia. The Wahoos very quietly and very quickly find themselves at 4-4 in the thick of the ACC standings. Put the standings on screen, please. Judah Wickhauer. We know the top of the conference is separated from the rest, and that's Notre Dame, Clemson, and Miami. Maybe you put North Carolina, who's a top 25 team, in there. But if you take away those 4 teams, Notre Dame, who's 7-0 in the ACC, Clemson 6-1, Miami 6-1, and North Carolina 6-2, 4 teams in the ACC in the top 25, 3 in the top 10, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Miami. If you take away those 4 teams, you have tremendous parity. NC State, Boston College, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, and Virginia, all separated by a game or 2 in the standings. Virginia travels to Florida State on Saturday. Well, it'll face the Florida State Seminoles. Florida State is a shadow of its former self. So much so that UVA, who is 4-4 on the season, is a 10-point favorite at Florida State in Tallahassee. You heard me correctly, 10-point favorite. Early, but still a 10-point favorite. Florida State is 2-6 on the season and 1-6 in ACC play. If UVA wins this game, guys, they go to 5-4 on the season, 4-4 in conference play, with Boston College and Virginia Tech still on the schedule. UVA could run the calendar, find themselves at 7-4 overall, and playing in a very legitimate bowl game. Even more so, that matchup against Virginia Tech and Blacksburg on the 12th of December, that matchup matters. And Virginia Tech just got their you-know-what's kicked by Pittsburgh. I mean, shellacked by Pitt Panthers. The matchup against the Hokies on the 12th of December at Blacksburg has a lot on the table. A lot on the table. And now I reflect in retrospect. Remember in retrospect, the matchup against Virginia Tech, UVA and Virginia Tech, was going to happen earlier in the season, remember? And the game was delayed because of COVID. It got moved up. Let's try to play it in September. Let's get this game in because we're fearful of COVID and not being able to get this matchup against the Hokies in before COVID closes out the 2020 campaign. Well, we had to reschedule the game to the 12th. And now, in retrospect, I'm excited because having the game against the Hokies being the last one of the season adds more punch to the matchup that already has a lot on the line. I love it. I'm excited. I'm excited we have a vaccine. I'm excited that I see the light at the end of this tunnel. I want to get to the rollout of this vaccine as quickly as possible. Don't you? So many people are like, will you take it? Will you take it? Will you take it? At first I was like, no, I'm not going to take it. Now I'm all about it. I will take it. The most important week since this pandemic, we're living it right now. The most important week since the pandemic, we're living it right now. I think we can do it. We got hoops, we got the holidays, we got Christmas, we got New Year's. After that, we're in the home stretch, and it's all downhill. We just got to get there. It's all downhill after New Year's. We just got to get there. I'm going to see if I can find Jesse Rutherford for the show to get some Nelson County insight. I'll see if I can reach out to him later in the week. James Watson, why did we play Abilene Christian? Was that just to make sure we had a competitor? I think we paid them about $400,000 to come into town. That's correct, about $400K. Yes, it's to make sure we had a game because we didn't have an out-of-conference game, and we couldn't find an out-of-conference game. Our first out-of-conference game against Georgia canceled, then VMI canceled, and then we were left scrambling for an out-of-conference game because we wanted to get extra contests in, extra games to pad the record. So that's how we got stuck with Abilene Christian, a team that was so bad Las Vegas refused to issue a line. Oh, man. All right, let me get out of here. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille show. We're good to be with you on a Monday. Ray Cadell, Andy Wilfong, thank you for watching the program. Barbara Lundgren, hello, welcome to the show. We're back here tomorrow, Tuesday. Real Talk we're doing with Keith Smith at 10:15. And then tomorrow, 12:30, on the I Love CVille show, I have something cooking on the program that I'm excited to relay to you. Stay tuned to the network tomorrow for maybe those details. For Judah Wickhauer, my name is Jerry Miller. This the I Love CVille show. The second game of the season already canceled, Judah. Against Florida. Did you see that?
What are you going to do?